Hey everyone, Sumo Spiffy here. The first Banzuke for 2025 is out, and it is kind of a doozy. A lot of it went as expected, but the parts that didn't, well, they're giving us some stuff to talk about. Let's get into it. Starting at the top, Terunofuji, Yokozuna, there we go, he's correct. Koto Sakura is the number 1 Ozeki, Hoshoryu, number 2, Onosato number 3, in order of record from last time, everything there is fine. Wakamoto Haru actually gets bumped up to Sekiwake East ahead of Daisho, who does not move. Now, I'm not shocked that this happened, I am a little surprised. Sasho Sakari, who won Best of Banzuke in November, he actually guessed this. But this isn't one to spend too much time thinking about. It's either, are they going to make sure to promote the guy who had a winning record at Sekiwake, which was my assumption, or are they going to reward the guy who was in the Sanyaku and had a better record? That latter case is what they did here, and that's okay. It was never completely outside the realm of possibility. I just didn't spend too much time on it because you can drive yourself crazy thinking about questions like that. So, alright, we got that one wrong. Some people got it right. Not a big deal. We move on. Abi ahead of Wakataka Kage as expected. Remember, M3, 11 wins, ends up ahead of M2 with 10 wins, so that's fine. Takano Sho, they could not find a reason to put Kirishima ahead of Takano Sho, so that's M1. Atami Fuji got his +1 on 8 and 7 at Maegashira 3 West, so he gets placed, and then Tobizaru is considered a better person for 2 East than Gonayama. I think that should be completely not surprising, and that's what happened. And then from there, Oho, Shodai, Ura, and Hirodoumi all fill in the huge gap that existed in the math because there was no one else to take their spots. Chiyoshima was 11 and 4, and he got +1.5 ranks over that. Takayasu and Ichiyamamoto were 8 and 7, so they went up 2.5 ranks more than expected. So they're there because there was really no one else to move into those spots. Endo was correct, Mitakayumi correct, Roga correct, all 7 and 8 all did not move. That's why they couldn't fill those spots. And then Takara Fuji was really the next guy in line, so he gets +2 on his 8 and 7, so he's correct. And now we get to talk about the fun stuff. Shurina Umi, 4 and 11 at Maegashira 4 East, he goes down 5 ranks. Oshoma, 4 and 11 at Maegashira 4 West, he goes down 5 ranks. This is not weird. In a vacuum, these moves are not that strange. And in fact, they're not that surprising if you just look at Tamawashi and Meisei, because Tamawashi and Meisei were both 8 and 7 at Maegashira 11, right? So Tamawashi was at East, Meisei was at West. So going to 10 is +1. That's a +1. That's exactly correct. Mathematically, that's exactly correct. Shurina Umi and Oshoma both were in the Joy. They were at the end of the Joy, but they still fought most of the Sanyaku. And what has been happening is that guys down, especially in these double-digit ranks, have not been allowed to be over-promoted, especially when there's somebody coming down from the Joy who had that Sanyaku schedule in the same vicinity. So even though mathematically Tamawashi and Meisei were ahead, the idea of putting Shurina Umi and Oshoma ahead of them anyway was not that surprising. It was never outside the realm of possibility. The thing that made it awkward and the thing that made us wrong and made most people wrong in this spot is Midori Fuji. Because this is what everybody figured was going to happen. Here are the different possibilities. If you put Shurina Umi and Oshoma here, then Tamawashi and Meisei, like Midori Fuji was Maegashira 9 East, and he was 7 and 8. So if he's going to go down 1 rank, that puts him here at 10 East. Okay. If you put him there, then Tamawashi has to go here and Meisei back here, which means they're only getting 1/2 rank increase. And that goes against what the committee has been doing. They've been not over promoting these guys, but they've also not been under promoting them in order to make room for the guys coming down from the Joy. That's something that they would have done in the past, no problem, but they have not been doing that recently. They've been trying to nail the promotions as exactly as possible. So what do? Are they gonna put Midori? So what I guessed was that Midori was actually gonna end up in the middle. In fact, let me just redraw that. That we were gonna have Tamawashi and then Midori, and then Meisei behind Midori. They were going to split up Tamawashi and Meisei. Like I said in the Guess the Banzuke video, they were going to do it because some people would argue Midori should be in front of him, and some people would say Midori should be behind him, but they would split the difference, and that's why he would go in between. But even then, if you look over on the side, I still had them. I had Tamawashi, Midori Fuji, Meisei, and then Churinaumi and Oshoma behind those guys. And the reason I did that was because Churinaumi and Oshoma, in that case, still get under-demoted. Remember, mathematically, 4 and 11 is 7 ranks down. They go down 6.5 in this case, so they're still not eating the full demotion. That's okay. And even though it goes against what they've been doing, and then Tamawashi would get +2 and Meisei would get +1.5, they would be over-promoted, there really wasn't any other way to keep Midori from going down more than a full rank. Now, of course, they've been over-demoting guys recently a little bit, so if you wanted Midori to go from 9 East to 10 West, which would be 1.5 ranks down, then you could put Churinaumi and Oshoma and then Tamawashi, but then you're still under-demoting Meisei. And if you put Tamawashi and Meisei in front, then you're going to put Churinaumi here, and then Midori here, and then Oshoma down here, which is like, why would you split up Churinaumi and Oshoma in that way? It doesn't make any sense. What nobody expected, what I have not seen all 217 entries from Guess the Banzuke, or, more than like a half a dozen, but I can just about promise you, nobody predicted this. Nobody predicted Midori Fuji was going to go down 2 full ranks on 7 and 8. 7 and 8 minus 2 ranks doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. It never happens. The Sumo database is down right now, and even if it wasn't, this is the kind of the really precise thing that's difficult to check. Even if I took the time to try and figure this out to the best of my ability, I'm not sure I would find anything within the last 20 or so years, which is usually the time frame that I study, where somebody on 7 and 8 went down 2 full ranks. This doesn't have it. Like, the kind of Banzuke mess that would be required to force that, I can't even imagine. And this wasn't required. This was not necessary. They did not have to put Midori Fuji here. They didn't have to do that. They didn't have to push him down this far. The only reason this happened, the only reason, is that they took, okay, Tamawashi and Meisei have to go 1 rank. We're not going to put them past Churinaumi and Oshoma, but we're also not going to under-promote them so that Churinaumi and Oshoma have a place to go. I wasn't in the room, but this is the only thing that they could have been thinking. And it makes sense, it works. You've got Joy and Joy, so okay, they're gonna end up above these +1 guys. If you put them at +1, they can only go here. They have to go here, they have to go at M10. Well, what are you gonna do? The only option, if you wanna make sure these 4 end up in these spots, is for Midori Fuji to get dropped 2 full ranks. In retrospect, sure, you can see it and it makes sense, but it's the kind of outside the box thinking. The Sumo Association is not known for any sort of outside the box thinking. Even though they've been changing things up over the last year and a half, they do it here and there, and they do it in little ways. And I suppose being willing to go from a half a rank over demotion to a full rank over demotion is a small-ish change in its way, but it really isn't. When you look at the history of all this, that's kind of wild that they were willing to make that move. In fairness, if they have these particular priorities, the Joy guys stay above the double-digit rank guys, the double-digit rank guys don't get over-promoted, but they don't get under-promoted either, then Midori Fuji only fit at 11 East. It's unfortunate for him, but it does work, given those stipulations. Then we move on. So Takeru Fuji, so some people had Nishikigi up in front of Takeru Fuji, and I understand that too. One of them had to either Takeru Fuji was going to get under promoted by a half rank, or Nishikigi was going to get over demoted by a half rank. Again, given what they've done recently, I had Takeru Fuji getting exactly his promotion, 5 ranks on 10 and 5, because Nishikigi was not in the Joy, he didn't fight any Sanyaku guys, so they were not going to give him priority in that situation. Okay, fine, no big deal. Then Onokatsu, Shonen no Umi, and then this one. This one is what is happening here. So we had Kota Shoho down at 14 West, Kinbozan over, and Hokuto Fuji at 13 West. And even there, Hokuto Fuji would have been going down 1.5 ranks on 7 and 8. He would have been getting over demoted by a half a rank already. Why did they move him down to here? Why is he -2 on 7 and 8? And I'm telling you, again, not in the room, but the only thing that makes any sense here is that they did this to Midori Fuji and were like, well, we have to rationalize it. We can't just only do it to him and not do it to anyone else. So Hokuto Fuji, we can make an argument for that too. Okay, this is a new thing we're doing. We did it to one guy, so we have to do it to a second guy if at all possible. So there. Sorry, Captain FACEPLANT, down you go. But this is dumb as hell. Hokuto Fuji was 12 East, 7 and 8. Kota Shoho was 5 West, 3 and 12. So mathematically, Hokuto Fuji went to 13 East. Mathematically, Kota Shoho went to 14 West. But more importantly than that, even though Kota Shoho was technically in the Joy, we'll put quotes around it, he only fought Hoshoryu. He fought one Ozeki, and that is it. I can't spell, fuck it. That's not a Joy schedule. That's not a Sanyaku schedule. That's not a schedule that gets any kind of priority ever. It shouldn't get priority. It doesn't need to get priority. It just doesn't get priority, really, ever. Definitely not like this. Definitely not coming back from a half a rank or a rank and a half behind mathematically to push a guy down even further when he's already getting over demoted. The only reason is because of Midori Fuji. It is. It has to be. So what they did was they took Kota Shoho, they moved him up, they bumped Hokuto Fuji back, and then they moved Kinbozan over. Putting Kota Shoho ahead of Kinbozan is not actually that weird. They always could have done that. They could have just left it at Koto and then Hokuto Fuji. We'll just put Captain up there. That would have been fine. In fact, I think I said that in the Guess the Banzuke video. This would have made perfect sense. They could have done this and it would have been absolutely perfectly okay. There is absolutely no logic for this move. This flip, okay, Kinbozan's behind those guys, that's fine, that's no big deal. But this part here, no reason for this at all. I couldn't tell you why they think it's important to do it to two guys. Maybe they're like, well, we don't want to do it only to, one guy and make it look like we're targeting him. It would be a very weird, I know some people are still like, oh, the guys who fight for Izagahama, they get special priority. This would be like a reverse special priority. Like, if we're going to do this to an Izagahama guy, then we have to do it to somebody else, or else this isn't going to work. It's just, the Midori Fuji thing is strange because it breaks all kinds of precedent. But when you lay it out, there is a logic to it. It does make sense. Like, it was the only way to fit everything else they wanted to do. But Hokuto Fuji did not need to get done like this. Like, they don't really care if somebody's popular. It's not that I'm surprised because a lot of people like him and they did it to him. It was just so unnecessary. It was so unnecessary to make this move, and they did it anyway. I don't think the Kotos, Sarogatake, I'm not gonna look it up. I'm just gonna go ahead and get it wrong. I don't think those guys have like a lot of sway in this. It's like Kota Shoho should get moved up. No, I really think this was just, they did it to Midori, so they had to do it to someone else, but there's really no rational reason to think that way. So Midori Fuji got unlucky and Hokuto Fuji got done super dirty because Midori Fuji got unlucky. Whatever, I don't get why they feel the need to do this, but I guarantee you, I would bet any amount of money, which I don't have a whole lot, so that doesn't really mean much, but I would bet just about anything that if Midori didn't have to get pushed back like that, Hokuto Fuji ends up higher up in the ranks. That's just, I think that is an absolute given. Anyway, the rest of it pretty much played out as expected. We got the guys coming up from Juryo, we got Hakuoho, Kitanowaka, Tamoshoho, and Kageyaki, and then the guys who are getting under demoted to stay in Makuuchi end up behind the Juryo guys. Nishiki Fuji, Toki Hayate. That's how they've been doing things for the last year and a half, so that's not a surprise either. And that is the Banzuke broken down for all you curious how things might have turned out this way. Hopefully any questions you have were answered. If you have any further questions, leave them in the comments. I've got a community post going up tomorrow about predictions that I'm making for 2025 and asking you for your predictions. So look for that. If you have predictions for 2025 that you want to share, leave them on the community post tomorrow. Don't leave them in the comments here, or leave them in both places, but definitely leave them on the community post tomorrow. Other than that, remember, the Banzuke is coming out 3 weeks before the tournament starts this time, not 2, so we still got a little ways to go before the Basho begins. But still, 3 weeks, get hyped, it's gonna be a banger, we might have a new Yokozuna, dream big for your favorite guys. Other than that, have a great day, and I will see you soon.